Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Today we are commemorating the Shahadat of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. IEFAZ is doing 2-day program, inshallah. We're going to have a program tonight and inshallah tomorrow night. Sostani is going to be done by Abul Hassan, myself, and lectures will be delivered by our very own Sheikh Hussain Walji. He has been the sponsor of our center for quite a long time, and he has accomplished a lot for our center with his help. And inshallah, he will be delivering the lecture for the day of the Shahadat of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. In order to start our program, I'd like to just remind everybody one more time, like we always do, please go to YouTube and look for Islamic Education Foundation of Arizona, and then subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon so that you can be prompted whenever there is a program happening live. And then also go to our website, Islamic Education Foundation of Arizona, the IEFAZ.org, and then subscribe to our mailing list so you will know whenever the programs are happening, you will receive the emails of those programs. With that, I will request Abul Hassan to start with Quran and translation. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم الله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور والذين كفروا أولياءهم الطاغوت يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Allah is He besides whom there is no God, the everlasting, the self-subsisting, by whom all subsist. Slumber does not overtake Him, nor sleep. Whatever is in the heavens and whatever is in the earth is His. Who is that? Who is He that can intercede with Him but by His permission? He knows what is before them and what is behind them, and they cannot comprehend anything out of His knowledge except what He pleases. His knowledge extends over the heavens and the earth, and the preservation of them both tires Him not. And He is the Most High, the Great. There is no compulsion in religion. Truly, the right way has become clearly distinct from the error. Therefore, whoever disbelieves in the shaitan and believes in Allah, he indeed has laid hold on the firmest handle, which shall not break off, and Allah is hearing, knowing. Allah is the guardian of those who believe. He brings them out of the darkness into the light. And as to those who disbelieve, the guardians are shaitans, who take them out of the light into the darkness. They are the inmates of the fire. In it they shall abide. Sadaqallahu al-Aliyyul Azim.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Abu Hassan, there was a little break in your mic, so I don't know. Can you hear me okay? I cannot hear you, Abu Hassan. Abbas bhai, are you able to hear me all right? Just want to make sure that the voice is okay, so as we continue our program, inshallah.
Yeah, I can hear you nice and well. You are very clear. Only Abu Hassan was breaking up.
Okay, all right. So Abu Hassan has joined again. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Wow. I'll start with a little poetry. Rubai aap logon ki jo khidmat. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Na kabhi ranjo mohan se nikla na kabhi ranjo mohan se nikla nikla to bas shukr dahan se nikla बीमार ने पहनी यूं ही काली पोशाक बीमार ने पहनी काली पोशाक सबने जाना कि है ये चांद गहन से निकला اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سلام کی چند اشعار. صلو علی محمد وآل محمد. مجرموں کوئی باندھے نہ گناہگار کے ہاتھ مجرموں کوئی باندھے نہ گناہگار کے ہاتھ شمر نے باندھے تھے جس زور سے بیمار کے ہاتھ مجرموں کوئی ماتم شاہ شہیداں کی بزرگی دیکھو ماتم شاہ غری شہیداں کی بزرگی دیکھو فاطمہ چومتی ہیں کے آزادار کے ہاتھ ہتھ کڑی پہنی امامت جب ہوئی ان کو نصیب ہتھ کڑی پہنی امامت جب ہوئی ان کو نصیب پہلی بیعت یہ لگی عابد بیمار کے ہاتھ لاچ اکبر پاپ کھڑے سینوں سر پیٹتے تھے کون تھا تھام لے جو سید ابرار کے ہاتھ شاہ کا سر کاٹا سکینہ کو تماچے مارے ہو گئے خشک نہ کیوں شمرے ستمگار کے ہاتھ دست عباس علی کاٹ کے بولا نوفل دست عباس علی کاٹ کے بولا نوفل لو قلم میں نے کیے حیدر کرار کے ہاتھ شمر نے باندھے تھے جس زور سے بیمار کے ہاتھ مجرموں کوئی دور پڑھیا محمد آل محمد صلی اللہ محمد و آل محمد فاتحہ قید خانے میں تلاتوں ہے کہ ہند آتی ہے قید خانے میں تلاتوں ہے کہ ہند آتی ہے دختر فاطمہ غیرت سے موئی جاتی ہے، روح قالب میں وہ زندان میں گھبراتی ہے، بے حواسی سے ہر ایک بار یہ چلاتی ہے، بے حواسی سے ہر ایک بار یہ چلاتی ہے، آسماں دور زمیں سخت کدھر جاؤں میں، بیویوں مل کے دعا مانگو کہ مر جاؤں میں، بیویوں مل کے دعا مانگو کہ مر جاؤں میں، درے زندہ کا ہوا اتنے میں امبو کمال، بول درباں کے بڑھے دولت و عمر و اقبال، اور قیدیوں اٹھو دعا دے کہ کرو استقبال، زن حاکم کا ہے زندان میں نزول جلال، تم کھلے سر تھی حضور اب تمہیں چادر دیں گی، رحم دل ہے ابھی زندان سے رہا کر دیں گی، رحم دل ہے ابھی زندان سے رہا کر دیں گی، گید عابد کے پھری پھر وہ بہانے تغیر، اور رکھ دیا پاؤں پا سر اپنا ہٹا کر زنجیر، بولے وہ کون یہ چلائی کنیز شبیر، السلام رسانو تو سلاسل کے اسیر، السلام رسانو تو سلاسل کے اسیر، ہے وصیت کا محل مرنے پہ تیار ہے تو، کچھ کفن کے لیے رکھتا ہے کہ نادار ہے تو، کچھ کفن کے لیے رکھتا ہے کہ نادار ہے تو، غم نہ کھا گورو کفن میں تجھے دوں گی واللہ، ارے ننگے سر تیرے جنازے کے چلوں گی ہمراہ، مرنے والے تیرا کیا نام ہے کب سے ہے تباہ، ارے بول مولا بھی 35 برس جینا ہے بول مولا بھی 35 برس جینا ہے نام بے کس بھی ہے، قیدی بھی ہے، نادار بھی ہے، حال یہ ہے کہ اسیری بھی ہے، آزار بھی ہے، حال یہ ہے کہ اسیری بھی ہے، آزار بھی ہے۔ ہند نے پوچھا مرض کیا ہے کہا بے پدری، ارے رو کے بولی کے دوا کیا ہے کہا نوحہ دریافت کیا. کہنے لگے در بدری بول لیتا ہے خبر کون, کہاں بے خبری. بول لیتا ہے کہاں خبر کون, کہاں بے خبری. آہ کرنے کا سبب پوچھا تو شرمانے لگے, تازیانوں کے نشاں پشت پر دکھلانے لگے. تازیانوں کے نشاں پشت پر دکھلانے لگے. بولی وہ کون سے اس یہاں پہ ملی یہ تعظیم, رو کے فرمایا گناہ کچھ بھی نہیں بے تقصیر. اس نے منہ پیٹ لیا اور کہا کب سے ہو اسیر. ارے بولے 10ویں تھی محرم کی جو پہنی زنجیر. بولے 10ویں تھی محرم کی جو پہنی زنجیر. کچھ کفن کے لیے ہمراہ نہیں لایا ہوں, ارے باپ کو چھوڑ کے بے گورو کفن آیا ہوں. باپ کو چھوڑ کے بے گورو کفن آیا ہوں قید خانے میں. ہمارا کوئی غم نہ دے آپ لوگوں کو, سوائے غم نہ دے. صلی اللہ علیہ محمد وآل محمد. اور اب میں دعوت دوں گا شیخ حسین والدی صاحب کو, ہمارے اپنے, ہمارے غموں میں, ہماری خوشی میں, امام کے غموں میں, امام کی خوشی میں ہمارے ساتھ ہر پروگرام میں ساتھ رہتے ہیں. ان کی صحت و سلامتی کے لیے ایک باواز بلند صلوات. اللہم صلی علی
محمد وآل محمد. رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة. بسم الله. یا رب دعا قبول ہو عابد کا واسطہ. یا رب دعا قبول ہو عابد کا واسطہ. ابن حسین سید سجاد کا واسطہ. تو نے جسے خطاب دیا زین العابدین, سجاد نام ان کا ہے عابد کا واسطہ. یا رب دعا قبول ہو عابد کا واسطہ. تعریف تیری کرتا رہا زندگی تمام. اے کردگار بس اسی حامد کا واسطہ. یا رب دعا قبول ہو عابد کا واسطہ. حیران ہوں دوا میں اثر کس
लिए नहीं हो जल्द अब शिफा तुझे जाहिद का वास्ता या रब दुआ कबूल हो आबिद का वास्ता बीमार करबला है लकब उसका ऐ खुदा दूर ये मरज तुझे आबिद का वास्ता या रब दुआ कबूल हो आबिद का वास्ता हमारे गुनाह बख्श दे ऐ रब्बुल आलमीन तुझको जनाब सैयद सज्जाद का वास्ता या रब दुआ कबूल हो आबिद का वास्ता اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
آل محمد.
رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله وبالله وصلى الله على محمد وآله وأفوض أمري إلى الله. إن الله بصير بالعباد. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد. روحي وجسمي ورواه العالمين لك الفداء يا ابن رسول الله. ثم السلام عليكم يا أهل العزاء الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ومن الناس من يشري نفسه ابتغاء مرضات الله والله رؤوف بالعباد. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات اللهم صل على محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
First and foremost, I want to thank the community for giving me this opportunity once again. Unfortunately, I cannot be with you, but at least I'm among you tonight to be able to spend these 2 valuable nights of the month of Muharram for commemorating the Shahadat of our 4th Imam, Imam Ali Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. Allahumma salli. The translation of this particular ayah, which comes from Surah Baqarah, and it is the 207th ayah of the Holy Quran, of this particular surah. And it says, and there is the type of a man who gives his life to earn the pleasure of Allah. And Allah is full of kindness to his devotees. Now, most of the scholars say that this particular ayah was revealed in honor of Mawla Kainat Hazrat Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Allah. And it was revealed at a time which is an interesting part of our history, and we must try and understand that aspect of history as well. I know many of you adults would be very well aware of this particular ayah as to when it was revealed, but it's important for the general public as well to know that this ayah was given in honor of Imam Ali alayhi salam. When was it done? It was done at the time on the eve when the Holy Prophet had decided to migrate towards Medina. So it was the night of Hijrah. And that was right after the death of Hazrat Abu Talib, that Abu Sufyan, who became the sword of a governor of Mecca, called all the tribal chiefs along with Abu Jahl. So both of these, Abu Sufyan and Abu Jahl, both of them, they got together and they called the different tribes. He wanted to discuss the migration of the Holy Prophet, because obviously, knowing that the Holy Prophet was migrating from Mecca to Medina, that there would be a lot of other people that would join him in that migration. So they were planning, Abu Sufyan and Abu Jahl, and this is part of history that cannot be denied, that they were determined to kill the Holy Prophet. And the way they had decided, of course, is that they decided to get these tribes together, and they told the tribes, different tribes, that I want you to give me one man, and each of these persons should have a sword in their hand. And then we will have all of these people walk into the place where the Holy Prophet would be sleeping and kill the Holy Prophets. Kill the Holy Prophet in such a way that it would be hard for anybody to determine who actually killed the Holy Prophet. And so this scheme was developed. And of course, that night when the Holy Prophet was in his place where he was to sleep, that night, he had a discussion with Mawla Kainat Hazrat Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, from the revelation that came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he asked Imam Ali alayhi salam to sleep in his place in that bed. And of course, this was Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, to protect the Prophet. He did not care about his own life. He did not care about sacrificing himself for the sake of the Holy Prophet. And so it was decided, and these people were standing basically outside waiting to find the right time to basically go inside and kill the Holy Prophet. But what they didn't understand is that the Holy Prophet was being watched by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah knew what was the intention of these people. And of course, they didn't even think of it, because these were many of these Abu Sufyan, Abu Jahl were also idol worshippers. They had no idea what God was all about. And therefore, they decided to do this act. And here, Imam Ali alayhi salam sleeps in the bed of Mawla, of the Holy Prophet. As he sleeps in that bed, one of the habits of the Holy Prophet was that he would put the blanket over him. And so Mawla Kainat puts the blanket over him. And the Holy Prophet then decides, he was asked by Allah to leave in the middle of the night and to go towards Medina. So he leaves, and he leaves Mawla Kainat, who was so determined to give his life for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he says to the Holy Prophet that if by sleeping on this bed I can save your life, then I will do that. And so he sleeps there. In the middle of the night, these people come in with their swords. And the first thing they did was, of course, they lifted the blanket. When they lifted the blanket, they found not the Holy Prophet, but Mawla Kainat Hazrat Ali ibn Abi Talib. That shocked them. And of course, infurious. Now, when the Holy Prophet left for Medina, he did not want anybody to follow him. But along the way, he saw that Hazrat Abu Bakr was behind him. And he asked the Holy Prophet, can I join you? And the Holy Prophet said, fine, you can come with me. And they went, but they realized that these people would be looking for them. So they went into a cave. And to protect them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked a spider to create a web on the outside of the cave. And Allah asked a pigeon to lay 2 fresh eggs in front of this web. So when these people came there and they were looking for the Holy Prophet along the way, and somebody said, well, let's look at the cave. And as they came near the cave, they saw the spider web there. And they also saw the fact that there were 2 eggs laid by a pigeon. They said, there is no way the Holy Prophet could have gone in this cave. And so they left. But this shows us that when it came to sacrificing life, it was a common theme, not only among our Imams, but it was also very common among our prophets, among our noble prophets. And to bring the people on the right path from the beginning of Hazrat Adam was a very difficult task, to keep people on the path that Allah had destined for people. So we see that even when it came to Hazrat Adam and Eve, Janabi Hawa, who gave birth to 2 sons, Habil and Kabil, and they were asked to present their sacrifices to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Habil's was accepted, Kabil's was not. So in jealousy, he killed his brother. Then, of course, you look at Hazrat Idris. Now, I'm saying this because it's important for us to know the difficulties that were there to guide the people on the right path, and to be able to understand the sacrifice of how unique and how it was an ultimate sacrifice of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And so Hazrat Idris, he's trying to convince the people, but of course the people did not pay attention to him. They rejected his call towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Hazrat Idris got upset about that. And he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, Ya Allah, for what these people are doing to me, stop the rain that is coming on them. Stop that greenery that they have. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stops the rain from falling. The condition of these people was such that they were so hungry, and because there was hardly any produce that was coming from the lands, that these people were killing their own children in the place of food to eat. This is how bad it was during the time of Hazrat Idris. And of course, they came and they apologized and asked Hazrat Idris for the rain again, and so the rain started to come back again. Then we look at Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam, and every one of you know that when he used to do tabligh, people used to throw stones at him, and he would get buried under those stones. And then Jibreel Amin would come and remove Hazrat Nuh from the heap of these stones. Finally, when people just did not listen, he asked Allah's help for pouring of rain. So in this case, so much rain came. And you know the history of Hazrat Nuh, and his son drowned in it. Then, of course, Hazrat Hud, if you look at Hazrat Saleh, they all went through difficult times. And one of the interesting things that we see is that when Imam Hussein alayhi salam had left Mecca towards Karbala, along the way, he used to explain to the people about Hazrat Saleh and the story of the camel. He used to tell all of those companions with him and everybody, and he used to let them know, he used to give them those historical facts that had happened. And it was important. But when you came to Hazrat Hud and Hazrat Saleh, people did not listen, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at that time used the wind, which came and destroyed them and their homes and threw them in faraway places. Then of course, it comes at the time of Hazrat Ibrahim. He suffered when Namrud ordered that he be thrown into the fire. Once again, we all know that story. Namrud had given him so much trouble that finally Allah killed him with having a one-legged fly who went into the ear of Pharaoh, of this Namrud, that ultimately killed him. But then, of course, he was tested again. And this time it was his son and Hazrat Ibrahim. And this event then became the event that we have to perform when we go for Hajj. And of course, he was getting ready to kill Hazrat Ismail. Now, one of the interesting things here is that there is a thing from Allama Iqbal that he talks about, and it's a beautiful thing when he says that he explains the similarities of Imam Hussein alayhi salam sacrifice and Hazrat Ibrahim and Ismail. Allama Iqbal said, Ismail helped his father to build a Kaaba, but Kaaba's dignity was preserved and maintained by Hussein. Then Allama said that if Ismail was an embodiment of Allah to sacrifice his life for Allah, then Hussein sacrificed not only himself, but he sacrificed his children as well. Then Allama said that when Hazrat Ibrahim and Ismail met at Masjid Khif, now when they two met, the father was describing to the son, of course, this dream that he had as to how he was asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to sacrifice his own son. All of this was not unusual in different ways, because different prophets went through different type of sacrifices. If you look at Hazrat Jarjis was one of those Nabi or prophet where the people in anger used to peel off his skin, and then they used to pour vinegar onto his body. You can imagine the pain Hazrat Jarjis was going through. Then they would take Hazrat Jarjis and burn him alive. And the Holy Prophet would bring Hazrat Jarjis back. They, at one point, cut him into pieces. And again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives life to Hazrat Jarjis. If you look at Hazrat Yahya, and we know the story of Hazrat Yusuf and Yaqub, how they were separated for 40 years before Hazrat Yusuf then became the leader of Egypt. And you look at Hazrat Yahya. Now, when you go to Syria, and may Allah give us this opportunity once again to visit Syria so we can visit the shrines of Janab Zainab and Janab Sakina bint al-Hussein someday. But if you go there, there is a place where Hazrat Yahya died. And when you look at Hazrat Yahya's life, it is quite interesting that during his time, there was a king who was married to this lady, and then this lady was so old, and therefore this king then decided that I want to get married. And this lady thought that if Yahya would marry, not Yahya, but the king would marry this lady, whichever lady that may be, that lady will then become the queen. And of course, she would also be part of all the different aspects of the kingdom. And so what she did was she decided to give some kind of a poison that would actually change and make the king's illusion turn. And so she poisoned her own husband in such a way, not to kill him, but to create illusion in his mind. And then she brings a girl who happens to be a girl from her previous marriage, a young girl. And she thought to herself, I'd rather have my daughter become the wife. Imagine, this was the time of Hazrat Yahya. And what did she do? She came there, and the king looked at her and was amazed to see her face. And of course, he sort of fell in love with her. But then his wife said that, you know, you can marry her, but under one condition: I want you to get me the head of Yahya. Why? Because Yahya had instructed the king never to marry the daughter of this lady. And she did not like it. And of course, she goes out there, and then ultimately the king brings the head of Hazrat Yahya. So we see that when it came to Tabligh, there was a lot of suffering. So when Allama Iqbal is talking about Ibrahim and Ismail, it was quite interesting that he says that in Masjid Khif, when they met, and he decided that he was going to die, but Hazrat Ismail tells Hazrat Ibrahim that I will have you do this under 3 conditions. He said, condition number one is that Baba, you will take and put something on your eyes, a blindfold, so that you cannot see me in pain when you are slaughtering me. The second condition he puts in, he said the second condition is that when you are killing me, make sure you close my legs and my hands, tie them up. And Hazrat Ibrahim said, why? And he said, Baba, I do not want to see you, that I am grasping for air and I'm trying to stay alive. I don't want to have you see that. And the third thing he says, make sure that you take my clothes and give it to my mom, so at least she will be aware that I have been killed. This was Ibrahim and Ismail. But the ultimate sacrifice was the sacrifice of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And what a sacrifice that was, that if we look at it, that Ismail is saying that give my clothes back to my mother so that she can realize and understand that I have been killed. But in Karbala, we see Janab Rabab. She brings a 6-month-old baby. Imagine, my brothers and sisters in Islam, 6-month-old baby. And this baby, it is said that had become still because there was no water, nor was there any milk from his mother. And so what happens? She gives a still baby who was still breathing, and no noise was coming out of Ali Asgar's mouth. She gives it to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And when Imam took Ali Asgar, there was no blindfold on his face. I have to say, oh my Imam, how were you able to see that arrow that was piercing through the neck of your son? When in Karbala, it was the day of Ashura, and when Shimr Ziljoshan, La'natullah alayh, and the others who were around Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, Sinan bin Anas was one of them, Khuli was another one. They were all three right next to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. It is said that all of the souls of all the prophets, including Imam Ali and Janab Fatima, were witnessing the killing of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Just imagine. It is said that when Shimr sat on the chest of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, Hazrat Adam said to the Holy Prophet, he said, I cannot see the way he is being killed. A thirsty man, just imagine, he was suffering from thirst. He had picked so many of these bodies to bring them over either to their fathers or to their mothers. And here he is lying, and Shimr is getting ready to place the knife on his neck. And at that moment, Adam says, I can't look at it. And then came Hazrat Nuh to the Holy Prophet and said, I cannot look at this event at all. I am so sorry. And history says one after the other prophets were witnessing the killing of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. To that effect that even the Holy Prophet, when he saw, he said, I cannot see my grandson being killed in this way. And then it came to Imam Ali alayhi salam, and Imam Ali alayhi salam said the same thing, I cannot witness this. And it was only Janab Fatima Zahra. History says that she may have come there. She was there when Shimr was getting ready to kill. At that moment, Janab Fatima said to Shemer, oh Shemer, he hears this voice of Janab Fatima and he says, oh Shemer, after all, you are a family man. How would you dare kill my son in this way? But Shemer went ahead and did what he did. Many of these events that we hear of Karbala came during the time of also when Mukhtar had captured all these criminals. And it was by the description that the criminals were talking to Mukhtar as some of our historical facts came into our Masaib today. And one of them was of course, Hormala. And for Hurmala, Imam Ali Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. Remember, this event took place nearly 5 years after the event of Karbala. Imam alayhi salam was always hoping that someday he will hear that Hurmala was caught. You know why? Because Imam used to say that what this man did with his arrows, it went through the hearts of many of us. When he was caught, Mukhtar asked him, he said, what happened? Oh, Hurmala, tell me. And Hurmala said that I had 7 arrows. I had shot 7 arrows during the time of Karbala. 3 of the arrows, I missed my points where I needed to shoot them. Do you know what they were? And he says, then when I was getting ready to kill Janabi Ali Asghar, I pointed at the neck of Ali Asghar and suddenly my arrow fell down. I picked up another arrow and was getting ready to shoot, and the arrow fell down. And at that moment, Umar ibn Sa'ad said, what is going on with you, Hurmala? And Hurmala said that every time I was getting ready to kill Ali Asghar, I saw a lady standing in front of the tent in hijab. And I figured that this must be the mother or the grandmother of this child. And this was the reason my arrow was falling down. Ultimately, he said, I took a 3-pronged arrow, which was normally used to kill the animals. And I shot that arrow towards the neck of Ali Asghar. And then he said, another arrow I had hit into the heart of Abdullah ibn Hassan. And this was Imam Hassan's son. And one of these sons died on the battlefield of Karbala with Janab Qasim. History says that he had nearly 4 or 5 sons that were killed in Karbala. And when Abdullah saw they were going to strike Imam Hussein alayhi salam on the floor, he ran out of the camp and tent and went straight for the body of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And when the sword came down, it hit Imam. It hit this Abdullah ibn Hassan, who died immediately. And Hurmala said, one of the arrows that I had used was an arrow that I had shot towards the eye of Hazrat Abbas. And this is why Abbas, when he fell down, he asked Abu Abdullah al-Hussein to help remove that arrow from his eye. And then he said, one of the arrows that I had hit went through the heart of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Matam Hussein.
ماتم حسین اللہ یا حسین
Hussein.
یا حسین
Yeah, Hussein.
یا حسین باز بھائی you are reciting now inshallah. یا حسین یا حسین
یا حسین یا حسین نو کے سینہ پہ کہتا تھا یہ سر حسین کا، نو کے سینہ پہ کہتا تھا یہ سر حسین کا، ہر گھر میں ہوگا دیکھنا، ہر گھر میں ہوگا دیکھنا ماتم حسین کا، نو کے سینہ پہ کہتا تھا یہ سر حسین کا، آنکھوں کا نور قلب کی طاقت چلی گئی، آنکھوں کا نور قلب کی طاقت چلی گئی، گھوڑے سے جب گرا علی اکبر حسین کا، گھوڑے سے جب گرا علی اکبر حسین کا، ہر گھر میں ہوگا دیکھنا، ہر گھر میں ہوگا دیکھنا ماتم حسین کا، نو کے سینہ پہ کہتا تھا یہ سر حسین کا، آنکھوں کا نور قلب کی طاقت چلی گئی، آنکھوں کا نور قلب کی طاقت چلی گئی، گھوڑے سے جب گرا علی اکبر حسین کا، زہرا نے اپنے ہاتھ رکھے تیغ کے تلے، زہرا نے اپنے ہاتھ رکھے تیغ کے تلے، سر کاٹنے لگا جو ستمگر حسین کا، سر کاٹنے لگا جو ستمگر حسین کا، ہر گھر میں ہوگا دیکھنا، ہر گھر میں ہوگا دیکھنا ماتم حسین کا، نو کے سینہ پہ کہتا تھا یہ سر حسین کا، کچھ بوڑھے کچھ جوان تھے اور ایک شیر خوار، کچھ بوڑھے کچھ جوان تھے اور ایک شیر خوار، لاکھوں کے سامنے تھا یہ لشکر حسین کا، لاکھوں کے سامنے تھا یہ لشکر حسین کا، ہر گھر میں ہوگا دیکھنا، ہر گھر میں ہوگا دیکھنا ماتم حسین کا، نو کے سینہ پہ کہتا تھا یہ سر حسین کا، یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین، حیدر بھائی
ہو گیا مرنا ستم کرتے ہیں ماتم محرم عباس کا، ہو گیا مرنا ستم عباس کا، کرتے ہیں ماتم حرم عباس کا، ہو گیا مرنا ستم عباس کا، کرتے ہیں ماتم حرم عباس کا، ہو گیا مرنا ستم عباس کا، سجاد سے پوچھو بازار میں کیا دیکھا، سجاد سے پوچھو بازار میں کیا دیکھا، سرسانی زہرا کا جلوے میں کھلا دیکھا سجاد سے پوچھو بازار میں کیا دیکھا اور کوفے کے مسلمانوں بیعت کا بہانہ تھا کوفے کے مسلمانوں بیعت کا بہانہ تھا پردیس میں سید کا دشمن وہ زمانہ تھا مہمان کے لاشے کو مقتل میں پڑا دیکھا سجاد سے پوچھو بازار میں کیا دیکھا ایمان کا دعویٰ ہے ٹھیک ایسی مسلمانی ایمان کا دعویٰ ہے ٹھیک ایسی مسلمانی احمد کے نواسے پر یوں بند کیا پانی شمشیر کے نیچے ہے پیاسے کا گلا دیکھا سجاد سے پوچھو بازار میں کیا دیکھا معصوم کے ہاتھوں پر معصوم پہ آسا ہے کیوں تیر چلاتے ہو احمد کا نواسا ہے معصوم کے لاشے کو مقتل میں پڑا دیکھا سجاد سے پوچھو بازار میں کیا دیکھا ایمان کا دعویٰ ہے ٹھیک ایسی مسلمانی احمد کے نواسے پر کیوں بند کیا پانی شمشیر کے نیچے ہے پیاسے کا گلا دیکھا سجاد سے پوچھو بازار میں کیا دیکھا سجاد سے پوچھو بازار میں کیا دیکھا یا حسین 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 اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد سے پہلے کہ زیارت شروع کی جائے آپ لوگوں سے درخواست ہے کہ آج کے پروگرام کو اسپانسر کرنے والے جو مومنین مومنات ہیں ان کے مرحومین کے لیے ایک عدد سورہ فاتحہ 3 دفعہ قل هو اللہ احد اور شروع اور آخر میں 3 دفعہ درود اور میں ریکویسٹ کرتا ہوں سورہ فاتحہ فور صابر علی اینڈ عبداللہ محمد حسین صلی اللہ محمد وآل محمد اللہم صلی علی محمد اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم الحمد للہ رب العالمین الرحمن الرحیم مالک یوم الدین ایاک نعبد و ایاک نستعین اهدنا الصراط المستقیم صراط الذین انعمت علیہم غیر المغضوب علیہم ولا الضالین بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم قل هو اللہ احد اللہ الصمد لم یلد ولم یولد ولم یکن له کفوا احد بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم قل هو اللہ احد اللہ الصمد لم یلد ولم یولد ولم یکن له کفوا احد بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم قل هو اللہ احد اللہ الصمد لم یلد ولم یولد ولم یکن له کفوا احد اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. متوجه زيارة.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين. السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان. الأمان الأمان الأمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. أجل الله تعالى فرجيك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك وجعلنا من أنصارك ورحمة الله وبركاته.